What's good, PENSARE Basketball fam? The Toronto Raptors get absolutely obliterated. And if you're like 131 to 108, that's not that bad. The Toronto Raptors led by as much as 39 points in this game. This was, as they say, a blowout. I don't know. How do you say blowout in your language? You let me know. Whatever the heck the language is for that, the Raptors got completely stomped. RJ Barrett was back. I guess that's a plus. Clears concussion protocol after a few games off. I think the Raptors had some silver linings, certainly. I could tell you that the most perhaps exciting moment of the game came after the game. Tristan Thompson, we can talk about that. And perhaps the second most exciting, perhaps the most exciting moment, no, the second most exciting moment came after the game. The most exciting moment of today for the Raptors came actually before the game when Brandon Ingram was introduced in his opening presser. Some snippets and some quotes to break down from that. Certainly, this is not a loss to lose sleep over. I hope you're enjoying your snowy day. This is a snowstorm day for people in Toronto. If you're joining us from outside of Toronto, we're having a hell of a snowstorm here. It's nuts. Okay, the Toronto Raptors lose 108 to 131, and it is largely due to the work of a bunch of young players that this was not more embarrassing than it really was. Okay, I mean, DeAndre Hunter, we get a first look at DeAndre Hunter. I mean, look, this is a team that has had the Raptors number. Okay, they beat them 136 to 106. They beat them, 120 to 122 to 108. They beat them 131 to 108 here. I mean, they just swept us in the regular season series. They beat us by 30 points in the opener. If you remember that game, Scotty Barnes struggled immensely. I think Chris Boucher led the team in scoring that game with 18. So it's just not a good matchup. You know what I mean? The Raptors kind of played them close. They were up in the third in game 3 of this season series. But yeah, they were up at one point by 1 point. I think it was 5-4, and then the Raptors never looked back. They never got a lead again. And just in the opening quarter, they got obliterated 41 to 17 in the opening quarter. That was just hard, man. Like, this is not lying to you. This gap right here, 41-15 in the first quarter, right? And not a lot of adjustments there. The Raptors are already super small. There were some rumors that maybe, just maybe, the Cleveland Cavaliers would rest their starters ahead of the All-Star break yesterday, which had me thinking, oh no, are the Raptors about to go on a very ill-timed win streak? No. Looked at the Vegas odds last night and I was like, oh, never mind. Vegas always knows what these teams are about to do. And yeah, the line was 13.5 or 14.5. And I was like, okay, cool. So the Cavaliers are playing their starters and they're playing a much improved bench with DeAndre Hunter. And we got to look at that bench, and that bench did not disappoint. They got 16 points off the bench from Sam Merrill, sharpshooter Sam Merrill, 18 points off the bench from DeAndre Hunter, very efficient. 14 points, all starters in double digits, not a single starter over 30 minutes. That's kind of how the Cavaliers roll, right? For the Raptors side, they start Jonathan Mobo at center. They started Jonathan Mobo and Scotty Barnes at center and power forward with a matchup against Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. And I think for the Raptors, I felt everything was a step slow, a little congested. Defensively, they felt a little slow on the perimeter. They were getting blown by. A lot of blow-bys. Really tough game for Grady Dick, man. Really tough game for Grady Dick. Tough scoring game early for Jacoby Walter. There was a point where Grady and Jacoby had played like a combined 38 minutes and had a combined 2 points. That was tough to get that level of production. Emmanuel quickly struggled early. I think it's largely due to like, how do I fit in when RJ Barrett is dominating so many possessions? And RJ Barrett had the ball a lot. He contributed to the first 9 points, either scoring or assisting on every single bucket. You know what's funny? Like yesterday during Emmanuel Quickly's hilarious post game, he mentioned he's like, the game plan tomorrow is to give the ball to RJ for left hand drives and get out of the way. He wasn't kidding. That really was the Raptors game plan. Like, he just gave us the game plan. It was kind of funny, right? So it wasn't necessarily on RJ that this game was lost. He was one of the only Raptors that was consistently getting into the paint. He made some really good passes when he got there. So I don't think you could have anything to say about RJ other than maybe the defensive effort at times, maybe a little too ball dominant. the Raptors don't clip the 30 assist mark. That's usually a good benchmark for the fact that the Raptors are going to lose a game. Usually. Scotty Barnes, he had his fair share of struggles and triumphs in this game, right? Had a couple of nice moves and one very, very incredible move on Evan Mobley, who has just had his hand outstretched. And for all the stuff you'd say about Jacoby Walters, sort of like not scoring a lot early, I think he made one of the best passes of the game. That was really interesting, and he made it with his left hand. So, yeah, just a really interesting game. Ochai Agbaji was great. I think Ochai had a really complete overall game. I think he contributed well defensively. 15 points off the bench. Jamison Battle, also very good, right? Very good game. 11 points. Really got on a heater in the first half and then just didn't see minutes in the second half until late. It's worth noting that Jacoby played 22 minutes in a blowout loss and was +3. And Jamison Battle played 11 minutes in a blowout loss and was +2. You usually don't see that. Most of the minuses were taken by Grady Dick. So basically, the Raptors lost every second that Grady Dick was on the court tonight. And we can talk about the defense. We can talk about, because it was interesting seeing the Raptors' coverage of Brandon Ingram and trying to think, yeah, sure, everyone's happy right now. But when Brandon Ingram actually comes into the lineup and these shots start to go away, and these guys who've sort of been afforded the opportunity to take like 15 to 20 shots suddenly have to fight with a guy who's better at doing those things, I wonder who falls into stand in the corner and don't move role. And I wonder who goes to the bench. More long term, I wonder who goes to the bench. Grady's on thin ice right now. I'm not saying that as a prospect overall. Like, of course, he's very young, but his defense has been discouraging this year. His offensive progression has somewhat declined or stagnated, if you will. He's kind of doing last year in reverse, because last year he started out really, really terrible, and then he had like a really good moment. But if there's something I can tell you about Raptors media, you don't want to go backwards ever with these people. You only want to go one way, and that one way is up. Because when you start going backwards, whether it be for a month or whether it be for 3 months, questions start to be asked. And those questions can include, is Grady Dick's place on this roster untouchable? Is it permanent? You know what I mean? Like we need to have some questions about that. And I'm not doubting him as a prospect. I'm not. I still see the vision of a big playmaking shooter, but it's like, if you're going to be this much of a defensive liability, you must be an offensive specialist. You must be providing a tremendous amount of value on that end. Now, for the Raptors' efficiency, I mean, granted, there was a moment in this game where these percentages did not look nearly this encouraging, but this is not a discouraging thing. You're going up against one of the best defenses in the league, and you shoot 46% from the field. That is a very, very good, sign. But they shoot 48%, which is not a good sign. They out-rebound you. They out-assist you. They play better than you. They play faster than you. And they take more shots than you, more possessions than you. They get to the line just as much as you, or one less, but they make more because RJ Barrett is, struggling at the line a lot right now. So yeah, like overall, like what really sticks out? You match them on the paint points. Like what was it really, other than 4 offensive rebounds, a few more, fast break points, like for the Raptors? Like what's the gap here? Like you look at this box score and you're just like, it didn't just come down to 3 free throws. Like you lost by 23. Like how did you lose this game by 23? And it really just comes down to possessions. Like they just kind of they won the Nick Nurse way. They won on the margins everywhere. And I mean, at one point they were winning by a substantial amount, but even when their second unit kicked in, it was that way. Uh actually saying Grady has flashes. They better become more than flashes next year. Truer words have not been spoken. That is very true. Now, I must admit that this usually we do, if you're new around here, we usually do a pretty extensive film breakdown. There will be no extensive film breakdown today. Like, it's just, number one, I really, really did not like this game. I found it kind of hard to watch. So there will be like snippets and things that maybe I noticed, but it's not going to be like 15 plays, guys. It's going to be a few things. First of all, Scotty Barnes with the weakest technical foul of all time. And may I just add that at some point during this game, Donovan Mitchell got an and one for what honestly felt like a phantom call, hung on the rim, screamed, which is completely an automatic technical. And I didn't see a technical foul being called on him. But Scotty Barnes is upset that y'all messed this call up and you gave him a technical. Like literally the second this play happened, this was the first play of the game. And the minute it happened, I was like, oh, I know what kind of game we're in for. Mark Davis, Natalie Sago. All right. Like, I know. Okay. Like there's certain referees where it's like, you know. The aforementioned RJ Barrett is back. Now, this was a rough possession prior to this drive because Scotty and RJ were trying to post up on the same side of the court. But nevertheless, here, RJ does what you're supposed to do. He draws two to the ball, and then he makes this pass. Little risky. Not going to lie, little risky. But Scotty gets it, and Scotty finishes. This would not be the result many times in this game. Sometimes he would be found, and Scotty would miss a point-blank layup. His finishing around the rim over the last 6 games continues to be very hit or miss. I continue to believe that it is due to the ankle, but nevertheless, Jamal Shed giving us his best Kyle Lowry impression again. And he did this last game too, with Kyle Lowry in attendance. I also think it's worth noting for those of you who don't follow the rest of the league that I think the Brooklyn Nets, am I mistaken in saying that the Brooklyn Nets beat the Philadelphia 76ers today? They were up big at one point, so I don't know if they closed it out, but I think they did. Almost every single team played tonight. The Indiana Pacers with Pascal Siakam, who had a disaster class tonight, needed overtime to beat the Washington Wizards. The Nets actually did beat Philly by 4. So, yeah, I mean, okay, and Joel Embiid didn't play. Fair enough, right? And Tyrese Maxey apparently didn't play as well. So this is just Tankathon, man. They're just putting Paul George out there. Paul George had 2 points in 37 minutes. Bro, against the Nets? This is not regression that I've seen in my life. Yo, this is like straight up from the top, a mandate. Like you must tank right now. This is crazy. Wow, sorry. I just had like an ADHD moment there where I just started looking. Anyways, so the Philadelphia 76ers team that we were all very, very excited that we beat yesterday, they went out and they went in full tank mode tonight against the Nets, and they ended up losing by 4. Unbelievable. Okay. So, look, point of attack, contain. I think the Raptors put guys like Grady and RJ out maybe against matchups that they had no real chance against. And offense is always an advantage in the NBA. Always. It's always going to be that way. You're asking one person to act and the other person to react. So the reaction is always harder because the people who are acting are the best athletes in the world. So you have to be a great, like you cannot be, this is just, you're cooked right here. You're done. Like he's got the 1 step. He's got the 2 step. He just doesn't have the lateral quickness. Good job by Ochai kind of poking in the gap. Like he's got his help here, but he has to do more to keep his arm up here. There's a contest. You can't complain about every single time someone scores and be like, oh, that's bad defense. You know what I mean? Like that's not how this works. And I just want to show you this play by Scotty Barnes. He does this like every time. I don't get it. Like I can go back to every time he faces Evan Mobley, he has one possession exactly like this. And it's always interesting to see how the finishes reflect his bag work. Like in the first time, like I think when they were rookies, he had a game against him where he just took him out on an island and just cross, but it became a jump hook. Here, it's going to be a very different finish. Look at this. So he gets low, which is what I was complaining about yesterday. He doesn't get low enough, right? Because again, now that you're low, you're a little less predictable, a little harder to stop. And here, Evan Mobley, one of the best defenders in the league. Look at that arc. You got to look at this. This is like, again, I slow these things down, not because I'm being an art house nerd. I slow them down because sometimes you just need to appreciate the physics of the sport. Okay. This is nuts. The idea that he can make this over Evan Mobley one-on-one like that, it's pretty impressive. And he didn't even need to do that thing that he always does, which is kind of like bump Evan Mobley off the spot. Okay. We talk about defense. This is some really great defense by Jacoby Walter, who wasn't scoring early, fine. But look at the attention to detail here. Gets spun off, stays with him, contain, forcing the drive into the middle, not allowing him to turn to the other shoulder, right? This is what they teach you. This is very fundamentally sound. Now, he got a little bit off balance, but you can't argue with the result. The work that you do with good offensive players is before the shot. And he made Jonathan Mitchell pretty uncomfortable before the shot, right? Like, I don't know. I'm struggling to believe what I'm saying because I want to give Jacoby his credit for that, but that was a fully makeable shot. Is it possible that if he makes that, we're just like tough? But I mean, like, he contested. He stayed with a very shifty, very difficult to guard perimeter player, navigated him through basically 25 feet of space, and still stuck with him and forced an air ball. We will definitely talk about that for sure. Anyways, that was a good result for the Raptors. Most of this game was not. Speaking of Jacoby, I love this pass. The Raptors are down 24. The Raptors don't quit, though, and I really appreciate that about them. Here on the fast break, on the move. Oh my, look at how accurate. Look at how accurate that pass is. Like, almost no work needed to be done to gather that pass. That's really impressive. That's really impressive. No wonder he won his minutes. And this was another one. He gaps the passing lane here and strips the ball away, goes down the other way, and a nice conservative flush. Very conservative. Here, Raptors showing a little bit of life in the fourth quarter. Here, RJ Barrett. Is this maybe? Yeah, barreling into the defense here and one. And then next play, Scotty Barnes pretty much doing the same thing, very different method of doing it, but kind of shies away. Same thing, and one. Ironically, both players would miss their free throws. Don't worry, this game was not won or lost on a free throw, okay? Now this is probably my favorite play of the night, and this happened in the fourth quarter. Here, Jonathan Mobo and Ochai Agbaji converge on Tristan Thompson, the bum. We will talk about him. And then Luke Travers gets open, and Jamison Battle says, "Not in my house." Yo, that's a third-year player, a rookie, and a rookie. And you got Jamal Shed on the court. He's a rookie. Jamison Battle is going to ignore the fact that rookie Jamal Shed, point guard Jamal Shed, Afro Jamal Shed today was on the court, and he's just going to run this break himself. I sped this up because Jamison Battle's fast breaks are like slow breaks, very, very slow. And now here, just simple pass, man. Simple basketball. And here, Tristan Thompson getting cooked there. I agree with you. Battle is a great signing. Just a fantastic. Now here, Tristan Thompson's going to do a little silliness. He likes to get with the silly. He's a Brampton guy. He likes to be silly. So here, and you'll notice Jamal Shed called him a bitch. I don't have the clip for it, but apparently he called him a bitch. Like 20 people said he called him a bitch. I'm not a fan of Tristan Thompson. I've never really been a fan of Tristan Thompson. When the Raptors had the 5th pick in the draft, I was very, very happy to see that the 4th pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers did not pick Jonas Valanciunas. I vastly preferred Valanciunas. Maroon Prince saying Brampton catching a stray. They caught a stray the day Tristan Thompson was born, bro. Okay. And here, for no reason whatsoever, the oldest player on the floor decides to do the most rookie amateur shit. And can I please understand why it is that people from Western Ontario, not West, the West GTA do this? Because honestly, the other player that is a flagrant repeater of this bullshit is Delano Banton. Rexdale, Brampton, what up? Explain it. Explain it to me. Why y'all do this? So this is nuts. And it sparks a whole lot of nothing where, okay, Ochai Baji, not pleased, but not really wanting to smoke or nothing. But there is a player who is going to want some smoke on this one. And that's going to be Jamal Shed, who calls Tristan Thompson a bitch. And I don't want to play this whole thing out just in case it's like a copyright thing, but nah, don't bring the West End. Are you from the West End? Can you talk to Tristan Thompson and ask him why the hell he did this? Big up Banton. Yeah, yo, it drove me crazy that Banton used to do this in Toronto, and then he started doing it in Portland as well. Like, I just don't get it. Like, what is this? Like, maybe it's one of those things where in the West End, you just play until you hear the final buzzer. You can dress it up as a positive thing, but it is not generally a good thing when you're veteran, probably veteran minimum guy at this point, and the guy who's supposed to be setting the example. Like, you can see Donovan Mitchell's face when he does this shit. Is like, what? So now he goes up to Jamal Shed. I wonder if we can catch Jamal call him a bitch here. Hang on one sec. Let me see if we can see it. Jacoby looking at him, giving him the strong side eye. Garrett Temple already knows Jacoby will knock this dude out. Okay. Garrett Temple saying, no, no, no. NBA Players Association stepping in here. Scotty Barnes, he's not afraid. Respect to Jameson Battle, kind of holding Scotty back. Emmanuel Quickly is not worried. Emmanuel Quickly is like the least impressed person here. He just like, I'm not even sure what I'm looking at. Like everyone else is hype. Emmanuel Quickly is like, what's for dinner? You know, that's interesting. That's so interesting. Darko Rajakovic, he's like, man, I come from Yugoslavia. Calm it down. Okay. Before I drop kick you in your head. Okay. Now his teammates are pulling him away. Now Scotty's doing the, I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know what's wrong with this dude. Mark Davis trying to, no. He's saying no. No. We already robbed the Raptors. We don't need to do no more. We already robbed them. I gave you every call tonight. I called a technical foul. I ignored the other things. We don't need to do anything anymore. Let's go back to America. Okay. Holy crap. Tristan Thompson is a Kardashian merchant. Anyways, that's cool, I guess. You know, this was just such a... Would y'all agree that this was a very boring game? I don't usually say that about Raptor games. You know, I love this team. But can you agree that this was just not one of those exciting games? And it's not just the score. It wasn't just the 39 points. It was just so boring. Like, nothing fun happened in this game. It was RJ drive, Scotty shot, miss, you know, Emmanuel Quickly pass, nothing, turnover, layup. Like, it was such a, I don't know. Like, I usually don't find, I wonder if it was the crowd too. I wonder if it's because of the snowstorm. Maybe it wasn't like a huge crowd or something like that. Saw a lot of empty seats tonight. You know, maybe people were checked out mentally. I mean, it's a vacation, the All-Star weekend. This is the last Raptor game for over a week. And I, for one, am very, very thankful. Jonathan M. Oh, I feel so badly for you, man. I'm so sorry to hear that. I was there tonight. Everyone on their cells. Was it packed? Was it capacity? You know, they say they sell out almost every single game, but I don't believe it. This, right? So we got to talk about that because a lot of talk around the Raptor land right now, at least from what I'm hearing, and I heard it from somebody who's pretty close. They're saying everything right now internally that's being messaged is next year. We're not thinking about like we're going to start next year. We're starting now, preparing for next year. So you can consider whatever you're seeing right now is basically an extended training camp for next season. They want to rope this into the summer. They want to integrate. They want to get Brandon Ingram. If you're expecting them to just sit Brandon Ingram, I'm sorry to tell you, they're not going to do that. No, they're going to bring him out on the court. They're probably going to smoke some teams. They're probably going to win a few games that you're going to you're going to wish they didn't win. And we will see how the lottery gods pan out. But I have a feeling that if like the team with the 6th worst record ends up with Cooper Flag and we have like the 8th worst record, I have a feeling some segment of this fan base is going to be like, why? Well, them's the lucks. You know, you them's the lucks. Am I having a stroke? No. That's the luck. Like that's just how it goes. Like, we don't know if the team with the worst record or the third worst record or the 10th worst record is going to get Cooper Flag. And it's very easy to say after it happens, it could have been us. It should have been us. Why wasn't it us? Right? Just like it was very easy to say, you know, the year that we should have tanked for Victor Wembanyama. I mean, granted, we walked in with the 13th best odds with Grady Dick. What if that was the lottery ball that got you Victor Wembanyama? Then we'd be like, oh, we were so lucky. We made it to the play-in. We might have even made a statue of DeMar DeRozan's daughter. You know, that's the lottery. But you can't play the lottery. You can't play the lottery. You got to control what you can control. And what the Raptors can control right now is that they have a hell of a talent who has signed up to 3 years, and they don't want to waste those years because as much as he has signed up to 3 years, the clock on that 3 years is actually 3 plus a quarter. And that quarter is now. You're paying him right now. I don't know if y'all realize that. The Raptors are paying Brandon Ingram to not play basketball right now. They're paying him to rehab. So it is very much in your favor right now to get him onto the court and see who he is as a basketball player next to these players. You can study all the New Orleans Pelicans film you want. You're not going to have any proven concept of what he looks like next to a Scotty Barnes and Emmanuel Quickley and an RJ Barrett. And you know what's important? Getting a 5 to 6 game sample against half decent competition after the All-Star break of this team rolling up against, I don't know, whoever the heck they're playing after the All-Star game, the Atlantas of the world, whatever. You can actually have a clear perspective on what you need to do this offseason to shore up the gaps, which could include trading RJ Barrett, Grady Dick, or somebody else. If I'm being honest, there's like 3 players that I am convinced 100% are not going to get traded this offseason. Y'all have any idea who those players are? Actually, it's 4 players. Yeah, I'll go with 4 players. Player number 1, Scotty Barnes. Player number 2, Brandon Ingram. Player number 3, Jacoby Walter. Player number 4, Over Shamshi. I don't think those players are going anywhere. Yeah, you threw Jonathan Mobo in there. I could see Jonathan Mobo getting traded, man. No, I wouldn't say the rookies are safe. What you're gonna reject a first round pick? Like if you're trying to trade up in the draft, like let's just say you end up with the 8th pick and you're trying to get up to the 4th pick, and one of the things that has to go out to get that 4th pick is Jamal Shed. You think Jamal Shed's safe? It's not safe. No, I don't think he's getting traded. I think the Raptors love him. Grady definitely gone. Now I don't think Grady's gone. I just don't think his standing with the organization is nearly as safe after year 2 as it was after year 1. Granted, we're not at the end of year 2. He could still have a dominant month to close the season. He's just had so many deficiencies defensively that you start to sort of second guess yourself on what he provides offensively, right? So that is something worth thinking about from the Raptors perspective is, don't you want to see what Brandon Ingram looks like next to a Scotty Barnes? I mean, you're stuck with this pair for at least a year, pretty much. You're not trading him right now. So don't you want to have some idea of what the other pieces around these guys need to look like? You might find something unique. You might find something concerning. It is important to see how they connect defensively. And more importantly than anything, it's important to hit the ground running next year. The East, I don't know how good the East will be next year. I suspect certain teams are going to get worse. Naturally, Philadelphia will probably fire their coach. Maybe they will look to, I mean, that seems like a very clusterfuck of an organization right now, but I think a lot of it has to do with health. And, if they keep their pick and they end up using that pick to trade Paul George, which is, what disaster class like organizations like this typically do for a significant upgrade, who knows? Who knows what that team could be? I think Nick Nurse is out. Would you trade RJ and Grady for Amen, Cam Whitmore, and a second 2028? If you think you need to add Cam Whitmore and a 2028 second to get me to move off of RJ Barrett and Grady Dick for Amen Thompson, you have no idea how high I am on Amen Thompson. I would trade RJ and Grady for Amen Thompson straight up. I would trade RJ and Grady plus a first round pick for Amen Thompson. You're not getting Amen Thompson. Sneaky military man was sneaky there. He was just like, he's like, maybe if I add all this extra sweetener, he'll think I'm really serious about this. Nope. No. Amen is great, man. But can we get Asar? Sure. That's a lot more gettable. Amen Thompson is looking like a future defensive player of the year type of prospect on the wings, and he also has a lot of great deal of passing chops. So I just think Amen has. No, you wouldn't, Rob. Not the first round pick. No, I would, because Amen is okay. He ain't that great. No, he is that great. I mean, as a young player, you want a lockdown defender. Putting Amen next to Scotty and Brandon Ingram pretty much makes you like the best young core in the Eastern Conference. Like I wouldn't trade that young core with Orlando. Not that I would trade our current young core with Orlando, but I'm just saying you elevate Jacoby, you still have your first round pick this year. I mean, my God, your future would be so great. You understand Amen is like 21 or 22 years old. We don't need Amen. We have Mobo. These are very, very different types of players, man. I'm very high on Jonathan Mobo, but Amen Thompson is really good. Y'all will see. I feel like if you haven't seen yet, you will see. Maybe watch some Rocky games. He's really good. Yeah. So what I was saying was, I don't think this season is just, okay, let's just wash it away. No, I think there's going to be at least a 6 to 7 game, maybe 8 game, maybe 10 game stretch, hopefully against a tough opponent so that you actually lose some of those games. But maybe it's not against a tough opponent and you just stomp the Washington Wizards by 60 points and build up your morale or something. But I think they're going to do that. I think they're going to do 10 games, 8 games with Brandon Ingram, with Scotty Barnes, whatever, with Jakob Poeltl, see what it looks like. Maybe sometimes they'll isolate it. Maybe RJ Barrett and May quickly miss a game, and then, you see a little bit of point BI. You see a little bit of, pick and roll BI with Jakob Poeltl. I think the Raptors have a lot of players, I mentioned it in the last live, that are 25-5 players. You know what I mean? They're players who handle the basketball. RJ Barrett, he operates almost like a point forward, right? Scotty Barnes, a bit of a point forward. Emmanuel Quickly, a bit of a point guard, Brandon Ingram, a bit of a point forward as well. He definitely sees himself as much more of a point forward than, a typical small forward, right? He's not DeAndre Hunter, right? He's much, much closer to a Malik Monk in terms of like how much he likes to handle the basketball. So he's got more guard skills than wing skills, but he's got plenty of both. So I just really feel like, in order to figure out how you work with so many players who need the basketball in their hands, you need to give them some reps. You need to let them figure it out. You need to see for yourself. And internally, as I mentioned, you need to understand what you have. I think the Raptors hit the ground running next year. Obviously, I'm praying for a top 3 pick, top 4 pick. I'm not necessarily for the idea of just like trying to lose games. Like, I'm perfectly for playing Ulrich 30 minutes, but I'm not okay with telling him miss box out assignments to lose the game. So that's what I'm never going to be okay with. If you sit Jakob Poeltl and just play Ulrich and Orlando Robinson, you will struggle to win 12 more games this year. That's the gap. So if you want to sink it, I don't think you have you don't have any players on this team that are going to carry such a load offensively and elevate the offense so much offensively by themselves. There's no LeBron James on this team. There's no Luka on this team where that one player can just make any lineup work. No, you need competent center play. And if you're going to put, a 19-year-old at center to make a lot of mistakes and commit a lot of fouls, then the other 4 players can at least figure it out, right? The problem is Jakob Poeltl is actually very important to this because per Jakob himself, he did a interview in an Austrian magazine. He sees himself as a very big part of this going forward. So to those of us who have thought maybe the Raptors will pivot away from Jakob, they'll see this more as a stretch big at some point. They'll seek out a Miles Turner or a Naz Reid this offseason. Not so fast. Apparently, the Toronto Raptors are in love with Jakob Poeltl. Hence, they traded 3 picks to get him. And they see him being a vital part of this. And apparently Brandon Ingram does too. Apparently Scotty Barnes does too. Shit, what do I know about basketball? I think a stretch big would help a lot. But maybe they see that stretch big coming off the bench. And maybe they think that stretch big is going to be drafted by them. And maybe it is a player that we're not thinking about. Maybe it's a player we're thinking about a lot. We'll see. But I really think that this season is about preparing for next season. I think this summer, training camp, summer league, the vacation time that typically is, associated with the summer. I think all of that is geared towards hitting the ground running and getting a jump on other teams, being more connected than other teams. There was that thing that the Raptors that year that they had the disaster under Nick Nurse's final year. I remember Paul George, ironically, at the Rico runs, he said because the Toronto Raptors had spent so much time together playing at the Rico runs, he's like, I'm gonna be super disappointed if y'all don't come out and start so super strong next year. And of course, the Raptors started out terribly, and they were the 6th worst team in the league by the All-Star break. But really, that's the point. Teams take veteran teams like the Celtics, maybe teams that have deep playoff runs. They usually take a long time to rest and recover. A bonus of not being a playoff team this year for the Raptors is all of these guys are going to get to take their vacation a little bit early. And for that vacation, maybe if you're a Scotty Barnes, someone who logged really heavy minutes throughout the season, or Jakob Poeltl, someone who's a little bit older, Chris Boucher, someone who's a little bit older, maybe you take a vacation for like 2 weeks. But if you're a Jacoby Walter, if you're a Jamison Battle, if you're a Jamal Shed, if you're a Grady Dick, no vacation, bro. You get like 2 days and you are back with your trainer and you are getting better, like right away. 2 days, 7 hours a day. I want this team to be super connected this summer, and I hear that they're gonna be super connected this summer. I want them to do what good teams do, like great teams do. I want them to be 1 week. I want them to be with BI over in North Carolina, and then 1 week I want them to be down with maybe Scotty in Miami, right? Maybe in West Palm Beach. Maybe next week. Then after that, maybe I want them to go visit Jacoby and Jamal Shed in Texas. Just do the tour, man. Set yourself up, get together, stay connected, get better every single day. Iron sharpens iron. You got some competent, scrappy defenders on this team that'll make everybody better. But anyways, the point is, to the fans thinking it's all about lottery balls right now, I promise you it's not the way the Raptors are thinking. They're not going to try to reverse engineer this. They've said it many times they won't do it. So they can do things to make it less likely to win, but they won't try to go out and lose. So expect some wins, a lot of wins actually, from now till the rest of the season. I think the Raptors have 17 wins right now. We can check the Tankathon. Where are the Raptors right now on Tankathon? They have, it's worth noting that Philadelphia is catching up fast. like fast. The Raptors and the Sixers are neck and neck and are separated. Wow. That's nuts, man. That's nuts. They are separated by 3.5 games. And the Sixers are thinking about shutting down Joel Embiid for the rest of the season. The New Orleans Pelicans are in free fall after winning, I believe, 7 of 10 at one point. They've actually gone on and lost 10 straight. So maybe Brandon Ingram and his character was keeping that shit afloat. But there's a lot of people who are upset that Brandon Ingram was traded. At least a couple that I know of that are upset internally that he was traded. And then you got Brooklyn. They're trying to lose too, but they've won 3 straight somehow. Don't know how they've won 3 straight, but they've won 3 straight. And you got the Charlotte, Portland starting to lose again after being what was the best defense in the NBA for 10 straight games. They're starting to lose again. Chicago's starting to lose. Toronto Raptors are in a very enviable position, which is they are currently number 1 among teams that can get that 5th spot, right? Like they currently have it. But these other teams, they're coming fast. And you know what? I got bad news for you. You got to face some of them. So you got to face Philadelphia 2 more times this season. 2 more times. And those 2 games could break the tie, right? You got 2 more games against Portland. You win those 2 games, boom, they catch you. So this is going to be an unfortunately very big talking point throughout the rest of the season. I'll apologize in advance. I am a bit obsessed with numbers. And unlike the Raptors, I hold no shame about this. Like, I honestly, I would be playing Ulrich right now. Like, I just wouldn't care. I would just bought. Let me walk that back. On a video game, I would, obviously, tank. In real life, I don't think I would either. I think I agree with what the Raptors are doing. To be honest, as much as it bothers my mind from a odds perspective and a sensibility perspective, I fully understand and empathize with the Raptors' position on this. So let me walk that back and say no. I would not be starting Ulrich as my starting point guard and launching 18 threes a game. Only in 2K. In 2K, I would 100%. That would be my strategy in 2K, though. 1,000%. We got 2 super chats. Very generous of you, both of you. Jonathan Savoy. Is it Savoy or Savoy? Help me out. I'm excited about the Raptors being built around Scotty and really appreciate your insight and enthusiasm for the big picture plans. It helps on a night like tonight. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And thank you for the super chat. You've always been very, very generous with that. And yeah, it's not feigned enthusiasm. Sometimes I catch myself and I'm talking to maybe somebody who covers the Houston Rockets or something, or the Pelicans or something like that. And we're just having a text exchange and I'll just be like, man, Jacoby's so great. And then he'll just be like, he's like 19th in scoring. You know what I mean? Like to me, like my life is so Raptors centric, but I have this weirdly, and it's not so Raptor centric, like maybe other content creators aren't on the panel, aren't watching other games. No, I watch the whole league. I've watched at least 12 games of every team. I'm a big, I'm very proud of that. That has actually not happened in a couple of years, but because of, being on the panel, I've watched at least 12, sometimes more. I've watched at least 16 Celtic games this year. There's some teams that I just don't like watching, and those are the teams that I have 12. Charlotte, 12. Utah, no, I lied. Utah, I've only watched 9. So I apologize. There's one team that I can't stand watching, the Utah Jazz. I'm sorry. I've watched 9 complete games of the Utah Jazz this year. So I watch a lot of teams. And I think that is great because, sometimes you never know when you need to fire up your Bryce Sensabaugh, trivia knowledge. So I do watch a lot of the league and I do see what other players are doing, which is why I can confidently say that, yes, I still prefer Grady Dick over Keontae George. But at some point, I do watch a lot more Raptors than any other team. I'm obsessed with, following this team and watching all the pressers and post game. So I just understand so much more about what the Raptors are doing internally and, what their focus is than any other team. You know what I mean? Like, do I really have a clear perspective on how the Rockets feel about Jabari Smith right now? Not really. Like, I can guess, but it's definitely not how confidently I feel like I know how the Raptors feel about Jamison Battle. That's different. So yeah, but it's not feigned. It is genuine enthusiasm. I'm excited about this team. Pepperjack. Hey, Rob, do you think Bilal Coulibaly is someone reasonable to get over the summer? And if so, what package would be reasonable? Thanks a lot for the super chat, as always, Pepperjack. I think during the Vince call-in, you had sent a $20 super chat asking about where I rank, if I'm not mistaken, it was you, where I rank the Raptors starting 5 among the league. And it took us a while. Like I flashed it on the screen, but because Vince and I were talking, I didn't actually answer your super chat until a little bit later, and I said top 12. So I apologize if you missed that. That was my answer to your last super chat. To answer this super chat, now I love Bilal Coulibaly. Y'all know I love Bilal Coulibaly, right? Like I love that dude. I think he's like one of the coolest players in the league. But I have watched a player at this point. It wouldn't even be a trade; it would be a rescue mission. Like you are rescuing him from the pits of hell, which is the Washington Wizards franchise and organization. So really, it's one part basketball. It's one part. It's altruism, really. Like you're doing a social service. I wonder if you can get the French government involved in this one. Hey, France, you want to send us your next 7'5" prospect? Keep him on the DL so we can draft him. If we rescue Bilal Coulibaly from this shit ass situation, Bilal would be great. Bilal would be fantastic because he fills a need that the Raptors really have. I don't know what it would take, though. I don't. I'm inclined to say if you end up with like the 7th or 8th pick in this draft, I'm pretty sure that would be what it would take. Like you could probably entice the Wizards to go backwards. And I think you could trade the 8th pick. That or I'm not sure what you have that they would want. Honestly, I'm being honest. Like teams tend to have a delusional self-evaluation of what top 7 picks are worth. Like I'm pretty sure the Raptors tried as they may to get Jarris Walker in that Pascal trade, and they were just probably like, no, Jarris Walker's untouchable, you know? Grady and 2026 first round. I'm not sure how much they would value Grady in that trade, but maybe that's what it would take. I thought about that when you were talking about it. Maybe 2026 and a first round pick. I'm not sure if what I'm curious about is what do you like about Bilal? Like I like, some of his athleticism and, defensive upside, and just generally speaking, I think he can be a terror defensively. I just think he so badly needs Darko Rajakovic right now. Really? Wow, the Sacramento Kings finally made a move that I respect. I've hated everything the Kings have done pretty much all year, so them doing this is kind of surprising. I love Markelle, man. I know a lot of people around Markelle. Really, really solid dude. Okay. Is this confirmed? Yes, it is confirmed. Nice. That's great, man. This is confirmed. You have to replace Fox. That's great. Well, I heard he's been keeping himself in good shape, so I hope that he does well. Okay, let's take a. I hope this does not get flagged for anything. It has a little bit of music in it, but I hope it doesn't get me any. I hope it doesn't get me in trouble. But yes, this is a little bit of Brandon Ingram. To those of you who might have missed it, this is a little clip from Raptors. So let's just talk about Brandon Ingram and his fit with the Raptors once again. Okay, here. And we'll definitely go with the post games after.
Exciting young team. Everybody feel good, exciting young team. Everybody play hard. Everybody good dudes. So it's fitting for me. They took me in with open arms. Some good conversations with coach. the Messiah. I'm ready. I'm ready to be here. The hat. This is my love for SpongeBob on my phone. My phone got.
Okay, I have a feeling that music is going to get us copyrighted, but here.
He's here. This is gonna be fun, man. Everybody's excited.
It's great to see him being so committed to what we're trying to do here and what we're trying to build here. So it's special.
I'm really excited. He should be really good for us. So I'm excited we can lock that in long term. I'm really excited to get this thing on the road. Get some practice, get some games in together, to really see how we can gel together. But I think the chemistry is already there. So let's take it far.
So that was a little bit of a snippet from the Open Gym episode. And this is a little bit from Brandon's presser with the Raptors media today. Hang on one sec.
Heard about how the Raptors are hoping to adjust your play as you, I guess, over the next few years here.
Well, the first thing that I heard is, they want to make me an all-star again. I'm going to be a big part of, what they do going forward. And I just want to, I want to come here and learn. I want to come here and be a sponge. At the beginning of the year, every time the schedule comes out, the first team we mark is Toronto. And I don't think it's ever for the team. It's always for the city.
Yo, I just want to point this out. That smile tells me, dude, I'm not even going to say it. He likes the city. And he's been on record about that many, many times. He enjoys the city. He loves, being here. He kind of compared. I won't say he took a shot at New Orleans, but he talked very honestly and openly about the fact that Toronto is not New Orleans. And he really does love it here. He's talked about spreading his wings. There's another player who came up north who spread their wings and showed a little bit of their personality, and that was Kawhi Leonard. So he really is so happy, man. He took a shot at CJ too. That was really funny. That's a 27 point per game smile right there. I love that he called people goofy. No, he's just great. He's all positive energy, all good vibes.
Always for the city. In New Orleans, the media coverage isn't great amongst the U.S. or global.
That's a really understated and underrated fact, and I've been mentioning it a lot. Masai Ujiri also talks about it, that when people see what a global opportunity this is, people will flock to Toronto because they'll see past the narrative of, oh, we got to go through border check. Screw it. Who cares? You are a Toronto Raptor. Okay, now again, from the vantage point of a Raptor fan, you have heard about Brandon Ingram more in the last week than you've probably heard about in your life. But from the vantage point of even a Miami Heat fan, I'll guarantee you've heard about Brandon Ingram more in the last week than you've heard about in the last 6 years. It doesn't matter where in the world you are. If you're a Toronto Raptor, I would tell you right now, other than being in New York, LA, maybe Miami, sometimes, Philly, maybe, Chicago, a little bit, Phoenix, a little bit. There's not a lot of markets that are bigger than this city. They're just not. The GTA is a huge market. And when I say market, it's not just the people. You gotta understand, we never talked about market. Anton Murley saying, you the man, dog. The free service you give us Raptor fans, I give thanks to you, brother. I appreciate it. Was something about the snowstorm making people very, very thankful today. I also felt very, very thankful today. So thank you very much. Extend the gratitude back to you. Thank you guys so much for supporting me, supporting this channel, helping us grow to the point where I can do something I love so much that right now, we are facing, I don't want to say facing because it's really not that big a deal, but I was looking at Pendance this year and I'm like, shoot, we might actually lose money this year because maybe past sales aren't going super well. I've been devoting a lot more time to Pensare Basketball. And I was like, man, like I can totally cover that with like a couple of months of YouTube revenue because, like this is actually going really well right now. And I've always believed in using your passions to support, using your talents to support your passions. And eventually your talents will pay just like your passions do. But like, you know what I mean? Like merging those two things. And I mean, it's fun because my talent here, which is paying pretty decently, is actually my passion too. So I'm supporting my passion with my other passion. Like I'm a very blessed person. I'm very, very happy. So I'm not complaining. I'm just saying like Pendance is probably going to be a lot harder without this channel doing so much the heavy lifting of just our day-to-day lives here, like for my girlfriend and myself. So this has been a blessing. Player's Choice has been a blessing. This entire year has been a blessing. And honestly, covering this team has felt like a blessing. And this dude is feeling like a blessing too. So let's just listen to what else he has to say.
So, I've been not talked about a lot.
I love that he's cognizant of that because it's true. He's a very talented player, right? Now, do I put him on the level of a Kawhi Leonard or something like that in San Antonio, feeling like, okay, he's getting disrespected. He's the damn second best player in the league. He's never talked about enough. No, it's not quite that serious. But certainly, we talk about Tyler Hero a lot more than we talk about Brandon Ingram. We certainly talk about Jalen Brunson a lot more than we talk about Brandon Ingram. And there's no reason to believe that at some point a perfected, actualized version of Brandon Ingram shouldn't have been better than both those players. So, yeah, those players are better right now. But even look at OG stepping in from a really big market like Toronto, where he was famous, popular, but maybe overshadowed by some people, going to New York as this big acquisition, the big money man. And look at the market and how much OG is talked about. I've certainly on NBA, ESPN, all that stuff. I've heard OG talked about more in the last year than I heard him talked about in the previous 5 years. But also, I think it's worth mentioning Kawhi the Raptor was talked about a hell of a lot more than Kawhi the Spur. I feel like Kawhi the Spur was talked about, but Kawhi the Raptor, that dude was drawing comparisons to Michael Jordan. So I feel like if you can do it here, like we will definitely talk about market. I'm gonna put a note myself like right here to talk about. Hold on, talk about market influence. I'm being my own secretary here. So market influence, because I think that it's so important. I think, and it's nice to know that his people, his agents have kind of told him like, go ball out in this big market. This is good for you. This is like New Orleans is like the smallest market in the league. I think them and Oklahoma City. So it's hard to stand out in small markets, right?
Yeah. I've been injured a little bit, so I've been forgotten a little bit. So I feel like coming in Toronto, I have a good chance to sprout a little bit. I just knew I needed a fresh start somewhere where guys played hard and they listened. And I heard good things about Scotty. I heard good things about Quickly, and I thought it was a good fit.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to understand because I'm not listening to these podcasts the way y'all listen to these podcasts. You're hearing the information from me. I'm not necessarily getting information from you. Can you tell me, please, based on how we've covered this as a channel, do you constantly believe that you are getting information here ahead of schedule? Like, do you believe, like, okay, like to give you an example. So there's a lot of chatter right now about Brandon Ingram wanted to be here. Like, that's the dominant point in today's Raptors. I was on Twitter Spaces, like, oh my God, I can't believe he loves us. Would you agree or disagree that when this trade broke down, you were told right here that he wanted to be here, he pushed his way to be here, blah, 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 So I'll tell you another thing. He's not unhealthy right now. I'm not saying he could play tomorrow, but if it was a playoff game and you needed him to play next week, he's healthy enough to play. This is what I heard, and I'm just trying to tell y'all, like, they held him out. Like, he was so December 7th, he played his last game. He had a high ankle sprain. I think he should have missed about a month and a half. That's cleared. So he was doing a little bit of practice work. He was on the court 2.5, 3 weeks ago, still trying to stay in shape. with assistant coaches and stuff. So he hasn't done contact 5-on-5, so he'll need a little bit of a ramp up. But if they wanted him to, and they said, "Hey, BI, can you be ready for February 24th?" He could. So any reporting of he's a month away, that's I don't know where that's coming from. I mean, I know where it's coming from. It's coming from Michael Grange. I do not necessarily know if that's how it will turn out, but that's definitely not how it has to turn out. So if it turns out that way, it's probably because they want to give him some time with play groups to get comfortable with his teammates. Maybe they want to give the young guys, maybe they have a plan. Maybe they're just like, hey, like we actually don't want to play you against these guys. We want to ramp you in slowly. We want to teach you the playbook a little bit. We want to get you comfortable so that you're out there. We're not just throwing you out there because the season's already gone. So yeah, I just want to throw that out there. Appreciate it, man. Anton Murley saying definitely a more reasonable perspective here. You were one of the only people saying BI would definitely sign here. Yeah, I mean, again, like so to reopen this a week ago, like I tend to believe that the Raptors are not a very leaky organization. The Pelicans, however, they can be leaky. So when BI was approached with the possibility of going to the Toronto Raptors, it became more of a free agency. I'll call it a pre-agency. So this is not free agency, it's like a pre-agency. Sorry, make him smaller, make myself bigger. So it basically became a pre-agency. So basically he was going to become a free agent, New Orleans, looking for a new home for him. So it came down to Toronto and some other options that were presented to him, and I think he wanted Toronto. So ultimately, now two sides need to come together, and there's an assurance from both ends that this is the money that's going to be available for him in Toronto. This is the opportunity. This is how they want to use him, and ultimately, that's going to dictate the price, right? So if Brandon Ingram was not willing to sign here, and this was like a flyer, if he had basically said, I'm not signing with anyone before I'm going to test free agency, that first round pick gets taken off the table. So he could have screwed the Pelicans really badly while wink, telling the Raptors, yeah, I'll sign, don't worry. But he could have just put it out there through his agent. I'm not willing to sign with anybody. I want to test free agency. But he played ball. With his agent, Rich Paul. And, he found his way here. Now, the important thing to realize here is that he wanted to be here because there's a lot of reasons. Number one, he said fresh change, right? He wanted a fresh start. He didn't feel valued in New Orleans, is what I heard. So 2 weeks ago, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I'm getting a little fuzzy on the dates, but 2 weeks ago, when Jake Fisher came out and said, this is legit, that's when I was like, okay, I need to ask a person that would know about this if he would actually come here. Number one, does he want to come here? And would he resign? And the only response, I'm not kidding, the only response, and if one of, Vince or somebody wants to meet me, I can show you the text, I'll hide the name. I just got 100 emoji, 100%. He wants to be here. And then after this started to pick up more and more, then I started to get more and more confirmation from people who would be close enough, but not directly related to the situation, saying, yeah, I heard he's unhappy. I heard he wants to leave, blah, 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 in New Orleans. So that's when I confidently went up to the panel and I said, he's 100% signing, because like, why would you do this? Like, why would anyone do this? Why would he push his way to Toronto, say, I want to be here, come here, and then not sign? Makes no sense. So it's a good show of good faith, obviously, from all sides involved. But really, when people say the Raptors don't get anyone in free agency, I think it's a really fair thing to say. Emmanuel Quickley and Brandon Ingram were the identical situation. Do y'all realize that? I don't think anyone else is drawing this parallel, but let me draw the parallel. The Knicks were in the same situation with Emmanuel Quickley as the New Orleans Pelicans were with Brandon Ingram. They had a player that other teams wanted, that wanted more money than they were willing to give them. Right? So the Raptors swoop in saying, we'll pay that money and we'll make the deal before free agency. So effectively, you're compensating New York and New Orleans with like a little bit of something. Well, in this case, a little bit of something was, OG Anunoby. But it's really a free agent acquisition in a lot of ways, right? Emmanuel Quickley and Brandon Ingram were free agent acquisitions. You had some sort of idea with their agent that you were willing to pay them, and they signed on the dotted line. And that's how you build a core. I don't know. But again, to the narrative, the Raptors can't attract free agents. Both Emmanuel Quickley. I mean, I'm not saying Emmanuel Quickley pushed his way here. I have no idea. He just wanted to get paid. No idea. Never heard anything about that. To be honest, when he got traded, he seemed kind of surprised that he was coming to Toronto, but he loves it here, seems to like it a lot. And he's really happy he's come with RJ. But with BI, 100%, he chose to come to Toronto. So this is like, I mean, I think from now on, when people say, like, y'all never sign anybody, y'all never get anybody, blah, 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 it's like, dude, this basically is pre-agency. So that's how I see it. Okay, continuing on.
Offensively and defensively. And, Darko had a play in that too.
I see that your guys are here, which I think is a showing of just how they're all here. Is there any?
This is the moment of depressor for me. I think 8, 9, or 10 players showed up to his press conference.
Anything that you'd like to say to them of just your commitment?
And he was so happy.
Yeah.
Committed to you.
But I appreciate everybody for, welcoming me with open arms. Cole, that's going to be my dog. That's going to be my rook, Scotty, I appreciate him. I think he's going to bring the goofy side out of me.
So there we are, right? All really positive, really great vibes. And you love to see it. You love to see it because I think Emmanuel Quickley, he just named the future. You know what's funny? I just said it, right? Those are the two guys that are untouchable. Brandon Ingram's not stupid. That's basically it. Yeah. Those are the two guys. Everybody else, he also said a lot of good things about Jakob Poeltl and Emmanuel Quickley, to be fair, right? I think Jacoby's going to take a really huge step. I mean, I know a little bit about some of the stuff that he's going to do this summer, and it all looks very, very promising. He is not about to stagnate. He's not about to go backwards. That dude chases it hard. So, expect him to take a major leap next year. Wouldn't be surprised if he started next year, to be honest. And at this point, I think more or less, I just look at roster redundancy. I look at guys like Ochai and Jamison Battle, and I'm like, I see a utility because these are the types of players that actually are on good teams. Stationary, or movement shooter who can just sort of play 30% defense. Jamison Battle, right? On a really cheap contract. You look at an Ochai Baji, a guard who can run the floor, a wing who can sort of defend the paint. There's a utility for that. Maybe it's not a 30-minute utility, but it's a mini Josh Hart role, right? This is a serviceable role players off the bench. There are plenty of guys who make their bread doing this kind of stuff, the hustle stuff, hitting open shots. And the hitting open shots is a game changer for me when it comes to Ochai. Because before he was hitting the shots, shit. So now you look at those guys and you're like, okay, they're not in a rotation if you draft a wing. They can't be, right? The minute Brandon Ingram comes into this situation for basically two older players and a hypothetical first-round pick that you didn't even have on your roster, someone's getting shaken out. And I wonder if the Brandon Ingram trade is basically them looking at their defense with RJ Barrett and Grady Dick and saying, this is not tenable. This is not tenable. Without a generational rim protector, this is not the type of defense we can sustain. Now, I'll be very curious to see what the Raptors do this offseason, but a lot of kumbayas right now, right? Everybody's super happy. RJ is like, yes, I'm so excited to have Brandon Ingram. And it's like, it's like, you don't know, right? Because that's basically like your third scorer now, right? Do you think this gives Darko a starting 8, 9, not a starting 5? No. You have to watch the rest of the league. Actually, you can't be saying Jacoby and Grady are starters. How many teams would Grady Dick start on? He start on Washington and Toronto. That's it. You're not starting on Atlanta. I don't think. It's the SpongeBob meme. Who's going to tell him? Yeah, and I mean, RJ is extension eligible this summer. The Raptors could potentially look to shop him. It's worth noting that RJ has taken competent steps, towards, trying on defense. He's really great for the culture. I have no issues with RJ staying on this team. I just think that with RJ plus Emmanuel quickly, like, you're very top heavy when it comes to your salary sheet, and you're missing things on your roster, like a dynamic guard who can break down a defense. You don't have one. You just don't have one. You keep praying on one, but you don't have one. You don't even have one who can do it as well as Markelle Fultz, and he's been unemployed like the entire year so far. Like, Markelle can get foot in the paint at will and split the defense. He just can't shoot to save his life, and he's super injury prone. But you know what I mean? Like, that guard who can just get consistent paint touches. I think the closest thing to it might be Jamal Shed. He gets his foot in the paint like anytime he wants. So RJ's paint touches are very useful because you lack a point guard who can do that, right? Scotty's drives need to get a lot better, for sure. I'll agree with that. But overall, I'm very optimistic about, this pairing, and this Scotty and Brandon Ingram pairing. Could it be like a poor man's Kawhi and Siakam? You get like two guys who have super long arms, big wing forward type guys with some guard skills. And you just become bigger than all the other teams, right? Especially if you can get a center. So now I'm like thinking to myself, if the Raptors had to put 2 to 3 core pieces to get an anchor, like a real defensive anchor, to upgrade Jakob Poeltl. And again, it's just like, dude, something got to go out, because it's like, I don't think this team's competing. I don't know how good you think Brandon Ingram is. He's not Kevin Durant. Like, he's not coming in here and single-handedly lifting your offense. Like, he fills a very, very functional need. But Scotty still has to take a big step. He has to take a big step, and the Raptors have to take a big step defensively if they want to be like a 47-win team that has a chance next year. Sure. RJ fits more than IQ. He definitely, they both have issues, but I think Emmanuel quickly is the more portable player because of the shooting. It's always because of the shooting. Edgecombe is going to be another Abaji. You think that? He is not. No, I am willing to bet a lot that VJ Edgecombe is on another planet than Ochai Abaji. Number one, Ochai was older at Kansas. You were watching him in year 3 at Kansas. And year 3 Abaji at Kansas was not better than year 1 VJ Edgecombe. Don't even go there. No, defensively, there's no comparison. I think there's 3 incredible defensive... No, there's 4 incredible defensive prospects towards the top of this draft. And if the Raptors got any one of them, they're not going to be incredible defensively on day one, but at least you have a future aiming in that direction, right? I think, have you watched Bam Adebayo this year? He has not been good at all. Interested seeing who you would trade RJ for. Would you trade for Collier? Oh, you've already lost me. I do not like Isaiah Collier, but okay. DeAndre Hunter, Keegan Murray, Christian Brown, Austin Reeves, Dalton Connect, Scoot Henderson, Asar Duran, Aaron Wiggins, Castle. Say yes or no to each. Okay. DeAndre Hunter. I know DeAndre Hunter is the better player right now, but no. Keegan Murray, yes. Christian Brown, yes. Austin Reeves, yes. Dalton Connect, no. Scoot Henderson, yes. Asar Thompson, yes. Jalen Duran, yes. It's just cheaper. Aaron Wiggins, no. Stephon Castle, yes. You got to factor in the money here, right? You're talking about trading him for guys on like way lower contracts. So that's all it is. Terrence Davis saying can't trade RJ. Sure. I mean, look, he could be a part of this thing for the next 10 years, for all I know. I mean, shoot, but he has to be much better defensively. And he has to be much more than a one-trick pony offensively. I mean, I'm curious to see if there's more development that's coming his way, right? Yeah. San Antonio would never trade Castle. I mean, they would. It would just take a lot more than RJ Barrett to get them to. It always translates different when coming into the league. Look at the first and second pick of the previous draft. No, Mark G, you should not look at the first and second pick of the last draft as a barometer for this year's draft. This year's draft is a completely different equation. I can tell you there's about probably 8 players in this year's draft that go like number 1. Last year's draft that would go like outside the top 10. Sorry, what am I trying to say? There's 8 players in this year's draft that would go ahead of Zachary Risochet as the first overall pick. This is completely different. I'm not sure Alex Sarr will be a top 10 pick in this year's draft. Okay, let's speaking of RJ, let's listen to RJ talk about coming back. No Darko? I think there's a Darko interview, right? Okay, fam, come on, man. Be faster. Okay, yes. Darko. No Darko. No, yes, Darko, because it is February 13th. My bad.
Hey, RJ. Obviously, first game back from injury. How'd you feel out there?
Felt good. Yeah.
Damn,
Definitely
audio.
felt good out there. You know, I had a lot of pop and energy personally, obviously, you know, having some time off. So, yeah.
What are you hoping to see, I guess, personally and from the team when you come back from the break over the final stretch of the season?
Just coming back, energized, refocused, and ready to go. You know, this past month, I would say we've had a pretty good stretch, and we played some pretty good basketball. So just, you know, come back and trying to get back to that.
How excited are you to get on the court with Brandon?
Oh man, that's, you know, it's big time. You get a player like that coming here. It's huge for us, huge for our organization. Everyone's excited. When I saw him on the bus yesterday, I gave him a big dap, you know, congratulating him and stuff. So we're happy to have him here. And, you know, once he's able to play and we get to see what it's like with all of us out there, you know, I'm sure it'll be a fun time.
You played in the Rising Stars game. Any advice to Grady heading into his first All-Star weekend?
Yeah, man, have fun, enjoy All-Star weekend, but, you know, go at it. You know, when I went to the game, I was, you know, I took it very serious.
What'd you make of the scuffle at the end there with your national team teammate Tristan?
Yeah, I don't really know what happened too much, but I just know, you know, Jamal reacting from Tristan getting that last bucket there. I mean, that's what Jamal's supposed to do. You know, it's pretty sure it's kind of like unwritten rule, you know, kind of to not do that then. So, you know, proud of Jamal. Did what he's supposed to do. You know, yeah.
What plans do you have for yourself now heading into?
Just, you know, continue to get back right, get back in shape. So, you know, that I'm ready for, you know, when we come back. But also just, you know, mentally just time to wind down a little bit, spend some time with family. Nah, I'm just going home. I'm just going home to chill. Yeah.
Selon toi, quelle est l'importance d'avoir un joueur comme Brandon Ingram dans les Raptors présentement?
Il est un joueur qui joue très bien. Il était un All-Star, alors c'est très bien pour nous. Et on est très content qu'il est ici.
Vous allez avoir un repos d'une semaine. Quel sera l'impact justement d'avoir des jours de repos pour l'équipe et pour toi personnellement?
On va aimer ça beaucoup. Merci.
Welcome a few days off, got to get away and decompress for all that's gone the last little while?
For sure. it was a game coming back home on back-to-back after being on the road for like 6-7 days. From the start of the game, I felt that we did not have energy. After that first quarter, we actually made it a game, and we were, 3 quarters pretty equal with them. This All-Star break is gonna be very beneficial to our team, just like to fill the cup, to recharge batteries, and to come back with great energy and focus for the rest of the year.
How do you think RJ looks? He looked pretty solid for a guy who had scrambled there a week ago.
Yeah, he's. I thought that he played well, but at the same time, you could feel that he was getting a little bit tired faster than usual, and we knew that was kind of like the reason we kept him like shorter stints in the game.
What are you hoping to see from your team when it comes back from the break over the final stretch of the season?
I think it's going to be very important, our mentality and our approach. I think it's going to be very important that we take one day at a time and not to take anything for granted. We got to continue developing. We have a lot of young guys that are getting very valuable minutes. We need to understand it and see the big picture, how those guys need to develop and what it's going to mean for us, in the future. So every game, every practice is going to be exciting for us, and we're looking forward to it to use it to get better.
What do you make of that late game scuffle there between Scotty and Tristan?
I think what Tristan did there was no class and disrespectful. I'm not going to stand for that for sure. And I'm really glad that our guys, our players from Jamal, that he was on the court, and Scotty and everybody else, that they stood up for themselves. I love when my team stands up for themselves. That was no class act.
Thanks everyone for coming. Obviously.
Okay, that's cool. Like, not gonna lie. Like overall, wait, what the hell? Check. Okay, good. Sorry. Yeah. Also, thanks to Jonathan for translating RJ's French. I sometimes think, like, should I interrupt it to try and decipher what he's saying? My French is modest at best, I think. But it's worth noting that RJ's French is also pretty modest at best. So when he speaks, usually even people who don't understand a lot of French can understand his French, which is good. Okay. Have I missed a comment? No, I haven't. Okay. Overall, this has been a hell of a season. We have had so many things to be thankful for, I think. Yeah, that's exactly it. His French is very simple. Yeah. Like, my name is, I'm happy, I'm sad. You know what I mean? Like, it's very simple. He topped out probably at like grade 10. But I feel like his French is probably better than 95% of people in Toronto. So, big on him. Big on him for keeping up with it. Overall, I think the Raptors have had a lot of positive developments, man. From Brandon Ingram to the 905 to Ulrich to the rookies, the other rookies to, Scotty becoming a mid-post demon. Scotty getting a player of the week. Darko sort of slowly winning over the fan base a little bit as people start to sort of smell the shit that Nick Nurse was cooking. I think there's a lot of optimism, right? Pepperjack saying Jazz won. Yes, the Jazz beat the Lakers. Unbelievable turn of events given how badly the Lakers whooped them in the previous game, but also an unbelievable turn of events for our tank. Okay, the Utah Jazz. I mean, it's like Danny Ainge just wanted his revenge. So petty. So petty. He's just like, you know what? I want to hand the Lakers a loss. Let's see. How did that game turn out? One sec. Take a quick look at that. I mean, I am curious. Luka had 16. He was negative 19. Jackson Hayes had 4, so which means he came down to earth, but he also played 7 minutes. Did he pick up like 10 fouls, or did he break himself? Oh, Lord. 8 minutes for Bronny James. He was plus 10, and he had 9 points. Yo, Bronny James super fans are getting like a real victory lap right now. Dalton Connect played. Wow, they went 12 deep, huh? And newly signed Alex Len played, and he was -9 in 22 minutes, and I think that's somehow relevant. And Christian Coloco, nice. I mean, overall, you got 32 points from Lauri Markkanen. Been going through some back issues. Wow. Cool. Boston beats San Antonio. The Clippers are whooping the Memphis Grizzlies. Currently, Orlando handily, easily beats the Charlotte Hornets. Indiana narrowly escapes Washington in overtime. Brooklyn beats Philadelphia. New York somehow outlasts Atlanta. They were whooping Atlanta early, but they somehow outlast them in overtime. Cleveland mollywops the Raptors. Detroit handles Chicago on a back-to-back. And last night, or the night before, I think it was last night, if I'm not mistaken, they had them down 29-71 at the half. Same team, same two teams. Milwaukee outlasts Minnesota somehow without Dame and without Giannis. That's insane. And these people want me to think that Anthony Edwards is so much better than Scotty Barnes. Oh, okay. Taurean Prince, Kyle Kuzma, Brooke Lopez, Andre Jackson Jr., and Ryan Rollins. That's who you lost to. Big shout out to Gary Trent Jr. for having 21 points off the bench. See, someone's got to score. Sacramento beats New Orleans. That's no surprise here. New Orleans has lost 10 straight. OKC beat Miami. This should not be a surprise to anybody, but it is interesting to note that Miami had them down really big and they shut them out in the fourth quarter. Yo, that's insane. I was like looking at this game and I was like, yo, 100% OKC is going to win this game. I wasn't even watching the game. I was like, OKC is going to win this game. Davion Mitchell starting and playing 35 minutes was not on my bingo card. They traded a second round pick for what is effectively their starting point guard. Wow. Okay. He had 14 points in that start. And a team leading 35 minutes. Wow. Okay. This is impressive. I'm going to be honest. That's impressive. And you know what's funny? You lost by 14. He was -3. Seems like had a pretty decent game. Damn, good for Davion. That's awesome. Did the Raptors get cooked? Did they just really, really want Davion Mitchell? Were they just like, that's how we're going to reinstate Heat culture? We're going to bring Davion Mitchell in. Yikes. Andrew saying OKC won on a 24-0 run. I don't doubt that. Yeah, I mean, sorry. I was just looking at the game at halftime or something. I think OKC was down by 10, 12 points. And I was like, they're going to come back. They're going to come back. Shea's too good. And they're not going into the All-Star break. Like, that's when you know, like, that's the maturity of a good team. Like, we're not going into the All-Star break with an L. Like, have some pride. And it's in the fourth quarter when that team dials up. Like, OKC and Cleveland, ironically, have this other gear that they should just go to defensively that it just makes it very suffocating. And I do want to say that I think the Cavaliers, credit to the Cavaliers. They were very, very professional today. I feel like they handled business. It's also worth noting, I think the Phoenix Suns are about to not only lose Kevin Durant, but I also think they're about to lose their playoff seeding. They're lottery bound and they don't have their pick. And Kevin Durant had 37 points and it doesn't matter. What? Bro, KD had 37 and he was like basically a man by himself. Ty Washington. Wow. We getting Ty minutes now. That's cool. It took the entire Rockets team minus, and I mean, it's worth noting the Rockets have been in a bit of a free fall without Fred VanVleet too. So shoot, man. Like, this is a very interesting night in the NBA. Portland kind of closes the gap on Denver. They were getting smoked in the third quarter, but good for them. A team with pride, a team that's playing hard recently, but still managing to lose games. And Dallas somehow outlasts Golden State, which is a shocking result given all the injuries that Dallas has. Who the hell did they even start at center tonight? Wow. Okay. Kessler, Edwards, and Omax Prosper were their starting front court. Max Christie is starting for them. Max Christie is low-key a pretty damn good player. That might be like, I'm not saying it's worth Luka Doncic, but like, he's a good player. He's a good young player for sure. And of course, a Buddy Hield disaster class is what you needed. Okay, I'm going to be on the panel tomorrow. I got about 6 hours of Pendance work to do. We are slowly getting the website up and running. As you can see, last year on the Pendance website, we had, we had much more, right? Like we had all of our shorts, listed out like this. This is what we're missing for this year, but our festival is literally 2 weeks away right now. Thursday, it starts Thursday 2 weeks from now, and we're a day away from putting those freaking listings up. So it's like it's all very, very like panicky right now in terms of how behind the 8 ball we are. But we have great films, tons of filmmakers, great events, and Jonathan, I will say this to you because you're a pass holder, and this has probably not been communicated to you since we're awful, but I'm talking to you right now, so might as well just tell you. There's really, really cool pass holder events for Pendance this year, including an arcade night. Isn't that cool? I don't know if you're into arcades. I don't know if you're into video games and stuff, but it's a really, really cool arcade, and we have the entire VIP on, I think it's Friday night after the screening. So all the filmmakers and every pass holder gets to come to the arcade after the screening and, just hang out, drink, eat, and possibly play some Super Smash Brothers. Yo, I'm so excited for that night. And there's tons. There's like a closing night gala that all pass holders get into. So yeah, it's a great event. We just are so behind on this one thing. Like we put together this great freaking event and then just forgot to tell people about it, So yeah, but ticket sales are going well. Filmmakers are coming. I'm sure in the next 2 weeks, we're going to sell this entire thing out. But to those of you who love cinema, want to watch movies, definitely come out to the Pendance Film Festival. How much are tickets for the arcade night? Like $20? Probably $20, something like that. We're not charging at the door. The venue would charge you, but pass holders get in free because we pay for the pass holders to get in. So that's why I was speaking directly to Jonathan, because he is a pass holder. Anyways, yes, Pendance coming up 2 weeks from now. That's crazy. I gotta work. I'm out of here. No lives. No lives for the next 2 days. I'm 100% focused on this. I'm on the panel tomorrow if you want to catch my thoughts about the NBA, or just you missed my face or whatever for whatever reason. I'm on the panel tomorrow from 11 till 2 as the entire PC team travels to San Francisco for the All-Star Weekend. Very, very cool that PC is at All-Star Weekend. I was supposed to be at All-Star Weekend, by the way. No lives for the next week. Bro, are you kidding me? No. We're not doing an entire week without lives. An entire week? No. It'll be 2 days. Maybe 2 days. Honestly, at this point, I might do a live tomorrow at 4 p.m. if I need a break. No, believe it or not, like talking to your community is actually a recharge. This is not a drain. Like me doing a live is not a drain. I get a lot of energy from doing this, and I love doing it. So it's just, while I'm doing this, I literally cannot be website designing and or crafting out emails and doing my jobs doing my other jobs as a festival director. So thoughts on the Lakers being the worst transition defense? LeBron is ass. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That's, yeah. I mean, I don't really have any extensive thoughts about it. But yes, they're old. They have some older players like LeBron, and they're not very disciplined about it. They don't communicate very well. Appreciate y'all. Okay, have a great night. Did Connect request time off away from the team? Shit happens, man. I have a lot of empathy for athletes, though. I do. Especially young athletes. You think you're going to be in a place for a while, and then you get traded to Charlotte. You know what I mean? Imagine Dalton Connect's life He's in LA, probably got a girl out there, probably got a side piece out there, probably looking at some real estate out there, probably looking at brand deals out there, probably looking at business partnerships, music partnerships, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then, oh, by the way, you're going to Charlotte. No disrespect to Charlotte. It's just not LA, man. Yeah. Over. 2.5? Over. Way over. Okay. I mean, I say way over. Knock on wood. Pray to God he doesn't get injured in his first game or something like that. But yes. North Carolina ain't it. North Carolina has some really beautiful places. I've been to North Carolina several times. I'm curious if you've been to North Carolina. North Carolina is cool. But it's just not, it's not LA. But yeah. So yeah, it is worth noting that all of the films will be listed. If y'all want to come check out, the one that I think y'all will definitely want to check out is Basketball State mixed with the last game on Sunday, 12 o'clock. I mentioned it before. I'll mention it again. There's an email in the description. If you are somebody who wants to see these films, but is like, I don't really have $20 to pay to see these films. We have, sometimes we do student giveaways occasionally. So if you're someone in financial need who really wants to see Basketball State, send me an email. I'll definitely give you a discount code or something, or not a discount code. Like I'll give you a waiver code for like 1 or 2 tickets. Totally fine. All right. Talk to y'all later. Have a great one. Enjoy yourselves. Good night.